Hey people, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge. So, I got a message saying, well, how do you protect yourself against negative forces? If I feel something negative, I bring down the white light and surround myself with loving white light energy. And okay, wonderful. And I don't mean, when I repeat these things like this, I mean them in a good way. Because, like I said in many videos, when someone's looking for an answer to something, they often hold on to the first answer they get as if it's the truth. And there's a lot of not so true things out there that are being given away by new age gurus and wannabe shamans and spiritual teachers. And that point right there, bringing down the white light and defending yourself, is not quite true. Look, in defending yourself, it's, excuse me, sawdust, not COVID. And I do wear a mask. It's about, this is you and your defenses, and this is a force that's coming in and it hits. All right, so let's look at simple physics about things. You have to be able to stop that force. One of the problems I had with this, my right hand not working, was trying out body armor, and it stops a projectile from going into your body. However, it does not stop the force. And small caliber weapons can have up to 40,000 pounds per square inch. Powerful rifles over 100,000 pounds per square inch, and that can send a huge ripple effect through your body. The bullet doesn't go in, but the force, God, it's unimaginable. So you can suffer other injuries like whiplash or internal damage, or if you get the shot that hits you here, you can take off your vest and end up with a huge bruise from that impact. It slowed down enough, but the force spread out. And the same thing happens with different energy signatures. So, and the route of travel. And the route of travel is really important too, because like when you look at lightning, you look at the amperage or the power of the lightning and what it goes through. So if it's going through a really wet tree on its way to the ground, yeah, it just blows apart. If it goes, sometimes it hits a metal rod and it goes into the sand. The metal rod's somewhat unaffected, but then it melts the sand underneath that rod, and you end up with this interesting looking glass ornament later on. So there's a lot into the equation of the power that's being projected out, and then how it's received or how it's um, resisted or not. So there's a lot that goes into it. So again, if somebody says, okay, well, this person's going to throw negative energy at you, and this is real possible, and I've told people this, is if you want to believe in healing energy, you have to also believe in destructive energies. If you believe in your mind can gather up the power to create a really good energy healing session on somebody and really turn around a terminal illness or an old injury, then you have to believe too that the exact opposite can happen. I mean, how could it not, right? So if somebody wanted to throw a little stone at me and I held up a piece of paper off of this tablet, go, yep, no problem. That same piece of stone, if it was fired from, let's say, a weapon as a projectile, now it's got this speed. Remember, force is mass times acceleration. So it goes right through the paper and right it lodges into my head. So I'd need something else. The faster it goes, the paper doesn't work, but maybe the top of this tin can does. You know? And then finally, I need some kind of a ballistic shield. So when somebody says they're going to bring down the white light, surround themselves, that's nice. You're envisioning something that you'd like to happen, but basically you're working on your imagination to defend you against a lethal object, which is this other form of energies. You have to be able to actually bring that towards you. And this is the big step between the metaphysical practitioner and the new age dreamer, imaginary. And so there's a fine line there, and you can become stronger at it, with a lot of guided meditations and in your own meditations and in a lot of self exploration, which is usually guided by a good spiritual teacher or a shaman, a real shaman, to be able to know how to really start to manipulate the atomic world around you. And you do this by proof. The fact is, if you're good at manipulating the energies, you will be able to do your hands on healing, your energy healing, long distance healing on someone and get positive effects. So when they say, yeah, my shoulder that's been hurting me 20 years, no one could do anything for it, 2 sessions with you, and now it's great. Awesome. Good. You've proven that you can do this now. Now let's move up a bit. So you you can't just throw out that, oh, if you're feeling the negative energy, just do these exercises if you have no proof it's going to work. Amulets and talismans, as good luck charms and stuff like that, really they're tools of focused energy. So when people always feel this thing they're wearing around their neck, it's guided thought, and that does help, but depending on the force of what's being sent out there. You can look at somebody's astrological chart and see if they're really good, because there was some time, and there are these wars, energetic wars of good versus evil, and the whole cliche about that. Back in the, I want to say early '80s, mid '80s, there were some things going on in South Florida with some, I don't want to say their race, but they were fire dancers. Okay, let's just call them fire dancers. And they were coming in really causing a lot of havoc, getting extortion, creating the bad spells and energies that they wanted to get paid to relieve. And this kind of stuff does happen. So the people in the area, were fighting back, and they had this one leader, and we had ours. And ours was a guy named Edwin. I'll give his name out now because he's long past. But when you looked at his astrological chart, if you've seen that circle where the planets are all over it, all of them were in the west, and the only thing to the east was the sun. The other guy, I won't give his name, all of them were to the west, and I can't remember if it was Neptune or Uranus was to the east. And everybody that tried to run the charts had to rerun it. These two guys have been going at this forever. And I was thinking about doing something to this one guy. I figured if I hit the leader, the rest of the people will leave, and we can go back to nice, peaceful stuff. And by the way, this is one of the big differences between a shaman and a medicine man. You go up halfway through your training, and then you divide off, where the medicine man does more of the healing arts and the shaman does more of the combative things. But something in my gut was just saying, no, I need to be more research about this guy. No, I need to be. And this is something I was trained to do, and I'm good at it. But something kept making me hesitate. And when I saw this guy's chart, I'm like, oh God, this guy would just like trash me. And so you have to look realistically. So it's not just about, who's got the most crystals and candles and does the prettiest altar. It's a lot of practical application. And the reason I want to do this, put this out there, because, I get messages and calls, people saying that they think they have a spell on them. They think they have this stuff on them, and they feed that fear fire. And by the time I go through some questions, they can see that they were the ones that made this worse. Not, it wasn't getting stronger or sent from this other source. They could usually trace it back down to them. Sometimes it was somebody that's actually doing something to them. And after I listened to a little bit, I could give them some things to do to go ahead and start to negate and neutralize what's being sent their way. Um, but I can do all that on another video, because I'm trying to keep these videos a little shorter. In short, all the negative energy stuff is real. You can do black magic on someone. You can shield against the negative energies, but you have to be reasonable about it, and you have to use something that will work against the forces being projected. And to do that, you have to be very aware and be able to gauge the forces that are being projected to know what you can use. All right, so that means you have to do your long distance viewing. What do they call it? The remote viewing these days. That's the new term, right? Be able to do that long distance viewing to be able to accurately gauge what's being projected by whom in what area. And what area, it depends a lot because that could have like a negative value to it, which makes it even more difficult to send things out, or they could have a positive value to it that's easy to send things out. So someone that's unskilled can do a lot of damage because of their vantage point. You see how this starts to get a little bit more complicated, or not complicated, but more intricate, more things to study. So, um, if you got any questions about this stuff, write them in the comments. I'll try and do another video with that. If you feel you have these kind of things being put on you, curses, bad magic spells, or things like that, um, write in a comment. We'll probably do an appointment, or I can gauge this. I've worked with a lot of people online to help with alleviate some of the problems, and sometimes the effects seem like one thing, but they're really caused by something else. And it's just a little bit of investigative research can get more accurate. Because when I listen to, yeah, that we've had all kinds of people come here and they couldn't do anything. It's like, well, this is a simple case. I think they just didn't know what they were doing. One other difference I'll point out, that when, let's say, couples move into a new place or your new business starts, and then they just have all kinds of bad things happen, and it was a good business somewhere, or they had a great relationship in another place, and they move into a new location, and it all goes just downhill. That can often not be a curse or negative energy projected, but it can also be the programming of the new location. And that's a completely different story. So that's not going to be lifted or, or shielded against in the same way that the curses or negative projected energies are dealt with, because this is a completely different environment. It's like bacterium and virus, that kind of, they're just that different. So, and again, I've had people call me, or talk to me online. They describe it, and I have a couple questions. Here's some simple ones. Do you have any small children? Got babies? And they say, yeah, baby's affected. No. Okay. Got any cats? Yeah, we got a cat. Cat affected? Yeah. No. And the difference is between cats and dogs. If you got negative energies or spirits and things like that coming in, cats are like, I'm out of here. Dogs are like, this is weird. You'll see them looking, and then if they leave, now it's real bad. But the animals and small children aren't affected. It's not negative energy being thrown out. It's not demon spirits or anything like that. It's more than likely residual programming from something that happened in that location in the past. And that takes a completely different application to neutralize or deprogram and reprogram, and a little bit more time to do it. So like I said, if you got any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. Catch you guys later.